Hey, what's up? John Sonmez here from SimpleProgrammer.com. So man, I'm on the book kick lately. I was promoting, at the time of recording this video actually, I was promoting an affiliate deal that I had with a friend of mine, Manny, who has the site 2000 Books. And I've been reading a lot more books lately. I've been doing some extra runs and listening to audio versions of books. So I've been just on this book kick. So that's good. For a while there, I had not been reading as many books as I usually do, and I felt that there was something missing from my life. I like to be reading books. But today I want to talk about, it's not a book review that I'm going to do today. Instead, what I want to talk about, oh, my back's a little sore, is this concept that I was thinking about a lot when I was thinking about the name of Mannys Company, which is 2000 Books, and just this idea of how many books that you can read in a lifetime. Like this, I just kind of want to share this thought with you on how important it is to select books carefully and to increase your reading. Right, two things that come from this. So Mannys Company name, Manny's my friend who does book summaries. Okay. And anyway, his company name is 2000 Books. Okay, and if you think about that, like, what does that mean? Like, and what does it mean to me, right? When I think about 2000 books, like, why 2000 books? And I was thinking about this, and I was like, okay, if you read 50 books a year, right? So, and most people don't read 50 books a year, but let's say that you read 50 books a year. In 5 years, right, you'll read, or sorry, in 10 years, you will read 500 books, okay? In 20 years, you'll read 1,000 books. In 40 years, you'll read 2,000 books. So really the lifespan of your reading lifespan, probably how long in your life that you'll read books, is probably about 40 years, right? If you think about it, it's kind of like from your 20 to 60, or that you'll get the value out of the books and be reading books. So most people won't read 50 books a year. But if you read 50 books a year, in your whole life, basically, you would only be able to read about 2,000 books. That's if you did 50 a year. So if you think about it, there's millions of books out there. And so it's really, really important to pick what books that you read. I mean, think about this. If you only have 2,000 books that you can read, that's not a lot of books, right? In comparison to all the books that are out there, that's not a whole lot of books. So you got to be really selective with the books that you actually read, okay? I know I'll take a second to plug my playlist here on my book reviews, because these books are curated books, right? I'm very careful, so go check that out. Open up in a new window or whatever, and you can come back and watch it later. But I curate books, and the way I do it is, what I do is I like my curation is a curation of curation, right? So I only read books. Like, I'm very cognizant, and this made me even more cognizant. But I'm very cognizant of the idea that every time that I invest time to read a book, it's time that I'm spending. Like, it better be a damn good book. So I only read books that are recommended by 2 or 3 people, usually more, right? I prioritize things by how many people have recommended that book. So almost all the books that you'll find in the playlist that I showed you of my book reviews are books that are already curated. So then the idea of me giving these reviews to you is that you can then further curate it and say, okay, well, this book kind of sucked, I'm not interested in this one, so you can filter this further, right? Because here's the other thing is, right, I'm reading like 50 to 75 books. I typically higher than 50, somewhere between 50 and 75 books a year, right? So I can afford to be a little bit less selective, because I'll read over 2,000 books in 40 years, right? But it's not going to be a lot more. But if you're only reading 5 books a year, like, I mean, the average American average American, at least that's the stat I know, is reading less than 1 book a year. But if, let's say that you're reading 5 books a year. So if you're reading 5 books a year, do you know how many books you'll read in your lifetime? 200. In 40 years, you'll read 200 books. That's not a lot, right? So those 200 books better fucking be good. They better count. They better make, change your life. Now, I prefer if everyone read, at least like 20, 30 books a year, but I know that's not going to happen, right? And if you think realistically, how many books have you read per year? Unless you're an avid reader, and some of you are, it's probably not that many. So, so you got to be really selective with the books that you read, right? So you got to make sure that you're reading the good books that are actually going to impact your life. And especially you got to front load that shit, because you want to have value out of this, right? You want to read good books early in your life that will influence and set the direction of your life. Like, imagine how good it would be to be 16 years old and read Awaken the Giant Within. You can check out that book, Tony Robbins, right? Imagine reading Awaken the Giant Within. And I know a lot of people that have, but that could change the entire course of your life. There's a ton of books that I'm reading now that I'm like, man, if I would have known this, if I would have read this book fucking 10 years ago, it would be awesome, right? I could have changed my life in so many ways. I could have, benefited from this knowledge. So I don't know. So why am I making this video? I'm not really plugging anything here. I guess I'll plug my playlist. I'll put that up there one more time. Check out the card in the description below. There'll be a link to the playlist of my video reviews. Subscribe to the channel, click the bell, all that, so that you get this stuff, because you're getting a curated list on top of a curated list. But really my whole purpose is just to do two things. Is one, to just make you think about this. Like, honestly, think about how important it is to have selection, not just in books, but anything that you consume, but books especially, because if you're only going to read 2,000 books in your life, or 200 books in your life, or if you're reading one book a year, maybe like 40, 50 books in your entire life, that's not much. There's millions of books. So you can't just be picking up books that are like, oh, this cover looks good, or this book looks good. That's not good, right? I have a whole system. I might actually put together a course on how I read books so fast and how I select my books. But I have a whole system that I use different categories in Goodreads, and how I decide what books that I'm going to read next. Especially when you're reading a lot of books, you got to know what book you're grabbing next. So I've got a whole system for doing that. But you got to think about this stuff, right? I mean, this is important. Like, what goes into you, like your input, you need to really think about your input. And then the other thing is that, when you consider this, that this whole concept of 2,000 books, if you read 50 books a year, that's not a lot of books. So you might want to up your book reading, right? So maybe you set a goal to read, let's say you read 10 books a year. Okay, if you do 10 books a year, then what are we talking about? Well, in 10 years, that's 100 books. In 20 years, that's 200 books. In 40 years, it's 400 books. Still not a lot of books, but more so. So you might want to think about, how much wisdom and how much knowledge do you want to have, right? And so, maybe you want to read 20 books a year, like kind of figure that out. But you got to realize that if you're only reading 5 books a year, you're not going to be reading a lot of books. You're not going to be familiar with a lot of the wisdom that's been passed on through the ages. So there you go. Anyway, just something to think about as you're processing, if you're thinking about reading a book, if you're thinking about what book to read next, and things like that. So, by the way, if you're a software developer, make sure you do check out my book, Complete Software Developer's Career Guide. I can't get away with talking about books without plugging my own book. That would be kind of dumb, wouldn't it? So, all right, that's all I got for you today. Like I said, if you haven't subscribed already, click that subscribe button and click the bell so you don't miss any of my videos, or especially my book reviews. I'll talk to you next time. Take care.